So you can't be watching. Okay. All right. I see. Hi there. Sophia's
Hello.
Rhoda here. And
Good afternoon.
Wolfie has returned. The delinquent has returned.
Were you here last week?
I
Wow,
did
wow,
not.
wow, my voice. I'm hitting puberty again.
I was
Look at all these things I'm doing.
I was not here. Well, I did pod with somebody, but we didn't get to put it up. It
You did doo-doo?
we didn't do
Doo-doo.
do do do
It
do.
didn't work, right?
It did it no, it would have worked. We recorded it and then they didn't like the way that it turned out, so they were like, "Don't post it."
Oh, that's lame.
I was sad. I think people get nervous about it, like, "Oh, do I sound okay? Is this all right?" And I get that. I want to make sure I look well too. Um, and yet I'm like, sometimes you just gotta throw enough caca on the wall and just see what sticks. And
Words to live by.
words to live by. So there it is. And so tell us about yourself. You've been away. Remind everybody who you are, what you do, why we're
So,
here.
so I'm Wolfie. I guess I am the delinquent. I'm not really a delinquent anymore. I'm
No.
too old to be that. If I was still a delinquent at this age and having it, there'd be some major issues going on.
There would.
Um, I'm just a dad of two. I love life. Things are good. I like talking to my sister Sophia. We thought we would share our thoughts. And we just try to have a good time. Maybe somebody will care, maybe somebody won't. But it gives us an excuse to talk a bit more.
It does.
So that's always good as we have dead space.
We have dead space now?
No, we had no sign. We had no talking. We had to talk. We gotta talk.
We
We
gotta
gotta
talk?
kvetch.
All right,
Gotta
we can
kvetch.
talk and fetch. I'm gonna primp.
You're gonna primp and brew.
I'm gonna primp.
Because we just go for it.
What?
It's good. You can give a makeup tutorial while we're talking.
There you go. This is a
Because
lip
what kind of
gloss by
lipstick is
Young
it?
Living.
Oh, that was actually gonna be my next question. So I know it's not what we just talked about, but what's in it? Because you love your Young Living, it's like your huge thing
It is.
as you try to live a non-chemical life.
Here we go.
So how do they make that lip gloss?
You know, I love that you're putting me on the spot because I don't have the answer. I can tell you it does not
Oh,
have sodium lauryl sulfate. It does not have parabens. I know that because I won't buy anything that does. Um, it is by their Savvy Mineral collection, and I don't believe it. The only one of the complaints I'll have, like not everything Young Living is all, stars and rockets. They don't put the name of the color on it. So I don't even know what color I just put on. But it's
that's
pinky. Um,
I don't know what I did, but or what
yes.
it is, but
But
it's there.
it's there. I can find out for you. I can find out what exactly is in it on another episode. We can do a complete Young Living episode. But for today, I'll just have to tell you that it is um relatively chemical free, no parabens, no sulfates, essential oil
Chemicals,
infused. Hmm?
chemicals, man, they'll fuck you up.
They will, ma'am. They will. So there's that. We were going to talk, you were talking to me before we started about WandaVision. And
Oh yeah, the new Marvel series.
yeah, so
So
talk about it. Tell us.
it's weird because my one buddy, I don't want to give too many spoilers away. I'm really gonna focus on the things they did
Uh-huh.
within the show that made me think of our childhood.
Oh, cool.
Um, instead of like what actually happened in the show,
Okay.
um, per se. So,
Per se.
the show itself is kind of something's going on where Wanda Vision, she's made Vision be alive again,
Okay.
and they're going through different decades
Oh, interesting.
of TV sitcoms. And the thing I love so much is the first 5 minutes of the show I'm watching it, and it's totally like the Dick Van Dyke start.
Oh,
And I guess Dick Van Dyke actually consulted on this intro episode or something of the sort.
uh-huh.
And just watching the show, it really brought me back to watching Nick at Night with our
Oh
parents.
my gosh, yes.
You know, staying up way later than I should have at that age. Yeah. I wonder why I'm a night owl now. Um, but it was really cool because I'm sitting there, and first of all, it's in letterbox.
Mhm.
So, you know, at first I was watching it, I'm like, is something wrong with my TV? You know, do I have a setting set up wrong?
Right.
And no, it really was. They have it shot in letterbox. It's in
Uh-huh.
the black and white. Um, they have a very similar start to Dick Van Dyke. There's definitely, you can see like the I Love Lucy. You know, remember how the Desi Lou
Mhm.
ending where it said I Love Lucy would have the heart with their names in it?
Yep.
They did stuff like that. They had the nosy neighbor. You know, they worked it into the story, and there's a reason why it's a deeper level why the neighbor's kind of being nosy and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you know, it just had that feel, and I loved it. And I guess some people have come out and haven't really enjoyed it. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes last time I checked had a huge positive that everyone loves it.
Oh, that's nice.
But I loved all the Dick Van Dyke is 60s,
Early
early
60s, I believe.
60s.
Yeah, early 60s.
So you know, the first two
Uh-huh.
episodes it's early 60s into I would say late 60s was kind of the first two episodes, but just
Okay.
all kind of the tropes and having your, you know, the silly reason why Vision's at where Vision works, the guy gets fired, you know, and they worked it into the show, but how it's like
Mhm.
really silly. You know, it's there, it's on meta. I don't want to
Mhm.
use that word. It's so weird. I still don't get. I always think meta. I think metahuman, like superpowers, and now meta is kind of totally taken on a different meaning in the world, and it's just weird. Pardon me while I get comfy. I'm being very lazy today. We're doing this from my bed
I like that.
and my fake silk sheets
Your
that
face.
are peely. But um, you know, it was just really cool to see the husband wife dynamic, and you'd always have those shows where something was banging, you know, and maybe the wife would wake up and try to get the husband to get up and go see what it was. And
Mhm.
he's like, no, I'm not getting up. And he's like, get up. And she's like, get up and no. And it winds up going deeper. Like I said, I don't want to go too much into it. But at first they're like, oh, it's a tree. And it's just such the tropes from that era of television. And it's cool how um, they're working it into the show, but there's really underlying things that they're saying through it. But
That's
it's
nice.
fun to have, you know, everyone like, when are you gonna pop out some kids? You know, because everyone had like the little kids and everything, and
Absolutely.
uh, you know, the boss comes over and there's all the hijinks of her trying to make dinner and how there's a
Oh
misunderstanding
my
because they have this
gosh.
date circled. Um, and
Kind of
it's
like
just
Bewitched.
right. Well, and that's the thing. In certain things she does,
Uh-huh.
when she uses her powers, it's very reminiscent of Bewitched. So instead of like a nose wiggle, there's like that chop scene, you know,
Okay.
where things would like stand still for a minute and then the character would appear.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like she would wiggle her nose, they'd stop, and then like they'd pop in.
Oh, right, right, right. Yes. Yes.
You know, and so there's that. Or they do, you know, they have to do a maggot,
Not maggot.
magic
Yes.
show. Um,
I'm
and kind of the
sorry.
hijink that goes from there, where something happens to Vision a little bit in an earlier scene,
Uh-huh.
and he like doesn't understand, but he's acting like he's drunk. So maybe in the '60s, it would have been like they went to the
Oh.
dentist and the Novocaine hadn't worn off yet,
Yes.
you know, or the magic show where, you know, he's using his powers to lift the piano.
Uh-huh.
So maybe it wouldn't do that, but maybe they do some strange feat and she has to turn it into a cardboard piano, you know, where it
Okay.
really wasn't a piece of the scenery. So
Oh, this is
yes,
funny.
they worked it in such a way
Mhm.
that they're using these old tropes, as I've been saying, and
Yes.
changing it into work with the series and
Okay.
what's really going on with the characters.
That's clever.
And one thing I noticed that I hadn't think anyone said is they change houses.
Mm.
Um, from one episode to another, or at least it seemed like a different house already going from one episode to another.
Hmm. Okay.
So I know that's not necessarily old tropes because pretty much, you look at Dick Van Dyke, he was always in the same house,
Right.
and Brady Bunch was always in the same house.
Yes.
And I use Brady Bunch because now they're starting to get into that Technicolor with this next episode.
Okay.
And I want to rewatch them to see what else I missed, but it was just, it was fun seeing those old, the old TV turn on static
Yes.
and turn off static. And they even had these little, even the commercials in between,
Uh-huh.
which have a lot of, I don't want to call them subliminal because they're not, they're right there in your face. Um, Commercials that seem very time appropriate,
Oh, nice. Yes.
you know, like one of them is the use of a toaster.
Uh-huh.
How here for the happy wife to make your husband happy. Here's this toaster to make things go that much quicker.
Nice.
You
Yes.
know, for the housewife, but I mean, and they just, I personally, even though I know nothing about cinematography, to me it was
Mhm.
shot so beautifully. It really
Mhm.
felt like you were in that era,
Mhm.
but with these characters that are totally out of place in the area, who are
Yes.
somewhat conscious of what's going on, but not.
Mhm.
Um, and it was great. They even had the two beds apart.
Oh, yep.
Husband and wife slept in two beds, and she moves them together, which you can see in the trailer. And it was just really enjoyable. Just from that on a nostalgic, it pulled on those strings for me. Now, most people would probably be like, a lot of people watching this
Mhm.
haven't experienced that, or maybe didn't have that with their parents.
Right.
Um, but it was really fun,
That is.
and that's what I loved about it. And it seemed to get a little bit out of the usual Marvel. Um, I almost want to say plan. It's very different. It's them taking chances,
Nice.
and that's cool because the movies are pretty formula
Mhm.
at this point. I mean, the formula works. This is the first time that I didn't look for spoilers ahead of time.
Okay.
And I thought, I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's weird. Because most of the movies,
Mhm.
at the very, very end of the line, no matter what, the heroes are going to win.
Right.
You just do. There was definitely laws and everything, but you knew by the end of this first 20 some odd movies
Mhm.
that the heroes were going to win.
Right.
I'm not saying there wasn't heartbreak and death and loss of people, and there were some movies that didn't end on such a high note, but you knew by the end
Mhm.
this is what was going to happen.
Right.
And it was fun that it was nothing like that.
Mhm.
And it was cool to get something new and fresh from them.
That's cool.
So I hope a lot of people who may only be casual fans can take this as, and people who aren't necessarily comic fans, but those,
Oh, technical difficulties.
what's
Okay.
going on?
Hold
Hi,
on.
everybody.
Yeah, hold
Nope,
on.
we lost it. We're
I'm
here. We're lost. We're back in this. We're
we
still
are.
broadcasting.
We're here. Can you hear me?
I can totally hear you. I just can't see you. We're just seeing my smiling, beautiful face and
It
my glorious
is.
Deadpool, which I think is actually a comic cover. I think it's one of the Secret War ones. I don't remember,
Here
but I
we
am wearing a
go.
DP shirt. This is wonderful.
This is wonderful. Um,
Oh, I need to groom. I definitely need to
See,
groom
this is
better.
part of what's
This
going
is
on.
this is what's going on. Yeah, we're not professional at all.
No, well,
We're
professional
gangbusters.
just means you're getting paid. We're definitely not getting paid.
No, we're not.
I'm not sure why my video went out. It says my video is still going.
Where are you?
Oh,
They don't want to see me. They can see my pillows. My lovely square pillow that's supposed to help
look at
sleeping.
that.
It's
This is
square.
so friggin' awesome.
The boys love it more than I do. I don't think it's that comfy, but they do. So
So
whatever.
that's cool.
We can just go with it. But just it was fun to watch something new and fresh that did that.
That sounds
It was
amazing.
really cool to see something different. Um, so moving right along, though, I
Yeah.
also watched your the movie you suggested because I finally finished DS9. So now I
Woohoo.
got a new series to stay up way too late to watch. Um, you know, um, it was really good to finish it. Um, I love how in the end Cisco basically more or less sacrifices himself.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
to the prophets, and he's told how he's gonna at the end what he's doing is gonna cause sorrow. And he has to go live with the prophets and saying how they don't see time linear. So he could
Right.
come back in a year, 10 years, or he can come back yesterday.
So weird. Yeah, I love that.
Um, and it's great. And you see him having to give up that his work's not done in Destiny, and him having to deal with his now wife, Cassidy Yates, and how um, he'll always be watching over them, but she's going to have to raise this unborn child,
Oh,
and
that's right.
leaving his son, who's now a man, as opposed to watching the show. And that's one thing they hit on in What We Left Behind, which I loved, and I wish more people loved this series back in the day because they never had. I think we might have talked about this. They were always fighting with another Star Trek show.
Yes.
You know, Next Gen to start and Voyager to end.
Exactly.
And people, there you are.
You got both of us now?
Well, we were going back and forth. We had you. You left me again, but now I see you.
Okay,
I
there we
see you.
go. Now we're back on. Okay. So anyways,
Um,
yes, so they've always been competing. So true. Oh, but you know what? This is still previewing
woo.
that. All right, you keep talking and I'll putz around with this. One day
We
I'll
know
get
that's
this
never a
straight.
problem.
What'd you say?
We just need good desktops that we can do this all on and be hardlined in, like all the other streamers do. That's what they do. They're all hardlined into their Wi-Fi things and
Yes.
have their crazy setups. I love the guys that actually have the sound padding in their rooms
Yes.
to help with sound reverberation and everything.
Yes. True. True.
With their top end gaming. I don't mean to be. It's just funny to me. But to see
Oh, actually,
how that
hold on.
show grew and how you become just engrossed in these people's lives
Mm-hmm.
and really seeing their lives grow. And at the end, it's a pretty sad ending. You feel good, but
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of sad. Chief O'Brien gets the job at Starfleet Academy as the head, like one of their engineering professors,
Exactly.
and not sad, but Worf goes to go be the Federation ambassador
Mm-hmm.
to Chancellor Martok
Yes.
after Worf kills Gowron, and how he's had this conversation with Ezri that the Klingon Empire needs to change. That they talk about honor, but the fact that they um, kind of there's a lot of backstabbing in politics
There
and
was a
greed
lot.
and corruption in the Empire,
Yeah.
and how a simple land like Martok,
Mm-hmm.
who's a warrior who raised through the ranks from basically a peasant, he calls himself without saying that,
Mm-hmm.
raised, and how he can be the new voice of a
Yes.
changed empire.
Yes.
Um, and Nog being the first Ferengi and how he's growing, and how how the Ferengi and how Ferengis have completely changed, where women are now getting rights,
Mm-hmm.
and the changing to the thing, and they're not a completely creates. It's such. I mean, Star Trek has always been a reflection of society,
Mm-hmm.
and the aliens showing ugly parts of us.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
Um, but seeing that change is possible in these shows, so there is some hope for us.
Yes.
Those who are hopeful in these, and especially right now, there is some hope for us to
There's
hopefully
hope.
not be xenophobic
Yeah.
and stuff, and maybe some good will come out of all the crap that's happening in the world at large right now. Um, Because there's definitely certain episodes. You watch certain episodes of
Mhm.
this show, and it's exactly what's going on right now, or it's pretty close to it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of parallels you can draw in different shows or of our history. We've talked about Beyond the Stars, or where they more or less have the ghettos.
Mhm.
In that one episode where he has to be I want to say Benny Hill, but obviously it's not Benny Hill. Alec, no, something Bell.
Yes, it is
Bell.
Bell. Something Bell. You're right.
Um, and how I don't want to call it the civil rights movement in that one, but definitely how, um, you know, the peasants or the lower class are kind of pushed off into these
Mhm.
sanctuary cities
Yeah, that was it.
and these ghettos, and are not given rights and are just kind of cast away as opposed to the rich.
Right.
And the society reforms that take place from there, and how it takes a riot of a violence, which you never want to see.
Right.
Um, but it took that. And watching What We Left Behind and hearing them talk about how different their show was.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I guess Avery Brooks was in a show called The Man Called Hawk
Yeah,
or something before that.
Mhm.
And how the network didn't want him. He had that look. He had that bald head goatee look.
Right.
And how they didn't feel that'd be good,
Right.
to start the show. Well, how are they going to take this? You're starting with this black commander, not even captain, and you don't want him to have this face because maybe it looks too aggressive and this and that. And I'm like, but that's when his character really takes hold.
Yeah.
Is when he does that. Is when he shaves his head and goes. I mean, it is. I love that. I think that's where he's at his best.
Mhm.
And his speech and his diction and just the way he talks, he brings
Mhm.
so much life to the words that he's speaking.
Mhm.
And that I didn't realize till later on he directs some of the episodes.
That would make sense. Okay.
And when I want to say he's authoritative, sometimes you hear the word authoritative and it's always got a very bad connotation. Um, Maybe authoritative is not the word I'm looking for. He commands the room.
Mhm. I think that
And I'm
makes
sure
sense.
he brought that to directing, and he had a hard time at first because it was all in his head, and he
Mhm.
had a hard time verbalizing it, and people didn't know how to react to it. But as they went, how he became that way, and how I should know names of actors. So I'm just gonna call him Jake Sisko. How they had a father-son relationship, really even offset,
Oh, nice. Okay.
and just seeing how it was really an ensemble cast, and now you see that more in these later shows,
Mhm.
but not everyone's white.
Mhm.
And I know they've had that throughout, where you had Sulu of Asians. Well, I guess Chekhov was too, of Asian descent, being Russian,
Some Russians are Asian, some are not. But yes,
because some
they
of
were
them do
trying
fall
to
into
make it
Europe.
not American, not just,
Right,
and that American didn't have to be lily white. Yes, throughout the
right.
beginning.
But you had the African, and you showed a strong African American father
Yes.
who
Yes.
takes care of his son and is a single dad.
Mhm.
And
Oh, yes.
um, I'm sure that meant to, people that were looking for that, saying this can exist.
Exactly.
And it does exist. Now, I shouldn't say it just not only can, but it does
It
exist.
does.
And
Exactly.
that people need to get out of those thoughts that, oh, they just leave.
Right.
They're
Exactly.
not there for their kids. Um, and I love stuff like that because
Mhm.
that's the world I want.
Mhm.
Um, and I wish to do myself. Um, and just getting the writers back and having them do this next. They did a make believe eighth season opener episode, and to watch them work it in and storyboard the whole thing.
Mhm.
It's me now trying to like maybe write a comic book
Mhm.
to get the ideas and the writing done, and see to watch the way they did it from the beginning and what's the plot and the point, and the story as it develops and what's going on with all the side characters and everyone's back to reunion.
Yes.
And how Molly is now in Starfleet and she's on DS9.
Oh, nice.
Um, you should really watch it all the way through
I'm gonna have to do that. Yeah, I only watched the
because they
beginning.
still had everyone at that point.
Mhm.
Um, and talking about how Esri herself, I know I'm jumping around characters, but how she wasn't just a Jedzia clone,
Mhm. Yes.
you know. And they talked about how her and Bashir's relationship at the time when they first started, he wasn't ready for her.
Mhm.
But now that he's grown and Esri, Esri Dax is Esri Dax. Yes, she has the memories of everyone, but she's still just her. She's still
Yes.
her own person. Um, and how they build her out, where you see certain, like the hands behind the back walking like Jadzia, but Esri is her own person
Mhm.
and her own character. It got a little silly with the fact that she's the ship's counselor,
Mhm.
and then she's doing all this science stuff and being on the Defiant. Like, why would you necessarily have your counselor on a warship?
Right.
A strictly warship, like that's what the Defiant was.
Mhm.
Um, I also didn't quite like when they recrescented the second Defiant as Defiant again instead of the Sao Paulo.
Oh,
But I
okay.
guess it kind of makes sense because they do it with Enterprises. Here's the next
Yes.
Enterprise. I don't know. I thought I was like, I don't like that. But whatever. Minor details. But it was cool to see everyone back together and talking about the series. And you heard Mark Alame, Gul Dukat talk about,
Mhm.
he was upset that they weren't giving him praise and, his ego. And they were like, well, we didn't do that because we didn't need to with you.
Mhm.
You were just hitting it on the spot that we didn't feel we needed to say that to you. Um, and it was great. And to see some of these guys without the makeup
Isn't
and
that nice?
having, I love Jeffrey Combs, the guy
Mhm.
who plays Wei Yon and Brunt, and I really got to go look for him in other stuff.
There is an interesting. Is it okay for me to mention something about Jeffrey Combs?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so when Jeffrey Combs has his very first, Rob point this out to me, so this is not my observation. When Jeffrey Combs has his very first character on DS9 before Brunt, before I apologize, I'm not remembering the other name,
Wei Yon.
Wayun. He's one other character, and I believe he's sitting in Quark's bar, and he purchases an Andorian ale. And then later on Enterprise, he plays the important Andorian.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to. I want to get into Enterprise. I I see now that I've watched that. I'm not ready to rewatch Voyager yet.
Okay.
Um, and I know some people would be like, "Well, it's because of the woman captain." And I'm like, "No, it has nothing to do with Janeway. She's all right. I just don't." It's just
Yeah, it's
like I think my favorite part of that show is the Doctor.
yes,
Um,
very cool. He's very cool.
I don't. I like Janeway. I
Mhm.
think it's cool how she has to work getting the two crews to combine.
100%.
Um, I could live without Neelix and Cass.
Okay.
Um,
I liked. May I interrupt for a moment?
you're not interrupting. You're adding.
Adding. I like Neelix. I could not have done without Kess.
Um, and even kind of Seven of Nine. I really could have dealt without Jerry Ryan. And I don't think it's because she's bad.
Right.
I don't think she's a bad actress in the show. I don't think that it's just like I feel like a lot of people do. She was just put on there for a reason.
Right.
And no knock on her as a person or an actress.
Right.
It really kind of lost me. I like some of the stuff they do with the Borg
Right.
and the children she tries to teach,
Yeah, that's
who
cool.
they got out of the collective, and the Unimatrix Zero stuff. I feel like, eh,
I get
you
you.
know, I like the Doctor.
Mhm.
I also like the episodes where the Doctor has to deal with the real version of him.
Yes, the his creator.
Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, or when Andy Dick appears on the show as the version 2.0.
Oh God, yes.
because they can't use Bashir because they find out Bashir is genetically altered.
Mhm.
So they scrap using him as the next one, which is DS9 related.
Okay.
Um, but I didn't find, yeah, I just didn't find him. I just didn't like the show. I
That's
don't think it's that great.
there you go. And that's okay.
Um, I'd much rather see what happens with um, Watch Enterprise again. I'm just not ready.
Not ready.
I don't think it was bad, and they did a lot of cool stuff, and it was cool going out to the Delta Quadrant and them here's stuff them trying. But even that, you don't really feel like it builds upon itself. I mean, it
Mm.
does, but it doesn't. My favorite part about DS9 is it. I don't know if it's called serialized or what the correct terminology is, but
Mhm.
it feels like they actually you see the characters really, really grow episode by episode and get in their lives. And I mean, I get it. You do some of that. It feels, even though you see the characters grow, and we'll use Next Gen as a perfect example.
Mhm.
You see the characters grow and they relate, but you never. It's very still episodic.
Yes.
You don't get like this long, glorious story.
Right.
And I
Mhm.
go ahead.
I would say from the get-go, the story of Voyager is the journey back home. So it
Right.
already begins sort of with that, which is a very different journey than we're out here to explore. So they've taken this concept of, well, we're the Federation, we're out here to explore, um, and they've added to that by saying, yes, so we're out here, so we'll explore, but we want to go home. So it's a little different in that sense, um, which is
See, now you're making me think maybe I need to give it a real rewatch.
I I think that would be fair. I think everything else you've said was also fair. Um,
To be fair,
yeah, it has a different intention. And what else did I want to say about that? And because its intention is this is great, we're getting to explore, but we want to go home, is it has a different feel. Like it legitimately should and does have a different feel than the optimism that you saw in Star Trek, both in TOS and in TNG, right? Which was fitting. It was fitting with the time. If I think also there that show was being produced at a time when people might have been thinking about, okay, we've come this far. If we're going to keep going forward, are we sure we want to go forward in the way we're going forward? And I know a lot of people look at it as saying like, "Oh, ye olden times were better," and I'm not trying to say that, um, but just it was at a time when I think we were thinking as a society that maybe we need to rethink just this forward momentum. Does that make sense?
yes. I understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, and it gives me a new look on the show. It definitely gives me a lot of look in the show, and I guess you can almost say both shows were then good. Even though I still feel it is more precursors, which I'm going to check out and look
Yeah.
into. Um, Shows building on themselves then.
Yes. Yes. And
Um,
I think there's even each series builds on the other.
except for Enterprise, because it's the beginning.
Yes. Yes. Although it worked backwards. My favorite part is that very last episode when he says his speech, which becomes the opening
For
then
everything
for
else.
everything else. I mean, to me that was
No,
just
I got there
amazing.
too, and it's Riker, Indiana, sitting there watching. Yep,
Yep.
no, it's good stuff. It's definitely good stuff. I have, just speaking in Star Trek in a general term,
Yes.
I've been watching, and I need to rewatch this stuff too. But some of the fighting that's going on between CBS and Paramount,
Okay.
um, where one person owns certain rights
Yes.
and another owns different rights, and unfortunately, I think it's really that's what more than anything has killed Star Trek.
Mm. Okay. I hear you.
Some of the stuff that they're having to change and do. Hopefully, they might be able to get it out, and we can get back to having real Star Trek. I'm willing to give Discovery a go, but now they just canceled it. It's
That's
seeming like they're gonna go ahead and cancel it because it's not doing the thing. I haven't heard word one about Lower Decks, so that makes me think that. that's already done and over with.
Yeah. I didn't watch it, so I
Because
can't really comment, but what I've seen, I'm
it,
not
it
thrilled
looked
with.
like it followed the show Rick and Morty.
Mm-hmm.
It at least had that animation, and I'm
Okay.
just not a fan of Rick and Morty in general.
Okay.
Um, so I mean that doesn't do anything for me. Oh, it looks like it is renewed for season 2.
That is the Lower Decks.
Lower Decks.
Okay.
I don't know where we're gonna watch it. Um,
Is it in the
so,
process of finding a home? Is that the reason why you say that?
well, it's not gonna be on Netflix. It does
Okay.
look like it's gonna be on CBS All Access.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, I'm not gonna get CBS All Access again until the next season of Picard comes out all the way through.
Okay.
Um, and watch that. So
Makes sense.
I already know where that's going. I'm gonna move along with, you know, that. I'm not gonna go seek it out. And as much as I personally enjoyed Picard,
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people didn't, but I didn't love it enough that I'm gonna go out of my way to pay for it.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, between already having Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus and HBO Max,
Oh my gosh.
I pretty
Okay.
much have everything.
You're back to a cable bill.
Maybe there may um well, Netflix I get through basically free through T-Mobile.
Oh,
Not giving
that's
anyone
right.
product placement, so please, that part's no taken out. Um,
Uh,
um, I had a thought. Since we're kind of on the topic of like shows and movies,
yeah.
did you guys watch Wonder Woman yet?
No, I watched the trailer um on YouTube. That's what I've watched so far.
Okay, what do you think of the trailer?
And I did also watch a review. Um I think if it comes to something I can get for free, what are your thoughts?
It was a real um letdown
Mm,
because she was so epic in her first movie,
yeah.
Gal Gadot. Um, it was just, it was just disappointing. They built it up as so much 80s stuff,
Yeah.
and then there was like maybe 5 minutes and of like real 80s stuff. Um,
Why?
Pedro Pascal.
Oh, go ahead.
What's up?
I was going to ask why they put it in the 80s in the first place. Because it's cool to be retro? Okay. Go ahead. You're going to say about Pedro Pascal, is it?
Pedro Pascal. First of all, of course, it's weird seeing him without a helmet. Um, so I hope him and Disney work things out so he stays.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Are you hearing that outer noise?
No.
Okay, good. Sorry.
We got to get you a headset.
Yeah. Um, Loud people and animals coming through. So we may want to wrap up soon, unfortunately,
Okay.
just in case people come invade me
We might
because
want to
they'll
let
do
them know
such.
we're streaming.
Right.
We're earning money
Um,
here. Maybe. One day.
yes, that could one day it could happen.
Could happen.
What was I going to tell you now? Um,
If any family members are ever watching this and they're wondering what to get Aaron and I, you can give us give some
yes,
patreon.com subscriptions.
there you go.
Yeah.
Which we should set up and do some stuff with finally.
I
Maybe a
do have
couple.
one.
Oh, you
Sophia's
do
Road.
have.
What?
Go ahead.
Sophiasroad.com. We have a Patreon.
Oh, that's right. Why don't we talk about that?
You want to talk
What are you
about
doing
that?
in your Patreon? Yeah. I mean, I can go back talking. Uh,
About Wonder Woman?
I'm streaming down here. Please don't let. Oh yeah, but
All right, so while you're
um,
doing that, I'll tell you about
no,
oh
you
no,
tell me
you're
about
done?
that. But yeah, I'm done.
Are you sure? Go and
Uh,
finish Wonder Woman. We can. If I was only gonna do that as a
so
filler.
Wonder Woman, it's just, I don't think I don't think anyone necessarily gives a bad performance.
Okay.
It just doesn't make sense. Her power set is all up and down from everything from the other thing she's been in. The script's a little weak,
Mm-hmm.
and CGI was not very good. Of course, you have your it's been out long enough, so I don't care. You do get a Linda
Spoilers.
Carter throwback.
Did they? I love Linda Carter as Wonder Woman.
Um,
Of course, I grew up with that version of Wonder Woman,
right,
so.
right. So I mean, I just um, I it was meh.
It was meh.
It was like a 6 out of 10. My buddy watched it and he's like, he started with meh and then he went to like,
Okay.
which I think should be the real rating system for now on.
Okay.
The cheetah character wasn't bad, and it was just such a downer. I was so looking forward to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was so blah and um, yeah, I was just really let down.
I'm sorry.
So if you can watch it for free, that's the way to watch it.
All
It was
right.
kind of like watching Justice League, where it was like free, so I watched
So
it.
you watched it. I like it. I like it. I'm trying to think of what I recently watched. Oh, I watched The Crown, although that now has been a few weeks. I watched it pretty close to when it came out. But that's been the only TV um that I've
That's set
watched.
in them fighting over the crown, right? That's why it's called the crown.
No, it's about Queen Elizabeth II, like
Yeah, that too.
historically. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Of
Yeah.
course, of course. So
Yeah.
your Patreon.
My Patreon. Yes. So I haven't put up anything new recently, but if you do go on there, you will find some of my food pictures and my restaurant reviews. We had been doing what was called breaking bread before we moved to Tennessee. And so you'll see the reviews of those places. We would get together. Breaking Bread was a IRL community event where we would get together and try out restaurants that we might not otherwise try out. And then I would put up a review both on the Patreon and often on Google. If you go on Google, both info at Sophia's Road and Sophia's Road at Gmail, you'll see several of my pictures and my food reviews. There you go. I'm not in them.
Oh,
Um, you also will find a few little other posts put up. But that's what's going on there. We'd like to change it up a little bit and just kind of have content. And if you like our content, then yay, help us create content. And if you don't like our content, then that's okay too. Or if you just
yeah,
want to watch us,
jerks.
well, and if you,
Jerks. How dare they not like your content?
I don't know, not everyone likes what I
What the
like.
hell?
It's okay.
What's wrong with them?
I don't know.
They just don't know any better. It's
There you
okay.
go. It's okay. All the right people are going to come. It's going to be just fine.
It'll be just
It
dandy.
will. It will. And in the summertime, I hope I can get some of my cooking in the tiny house so that we can try out different recipes on my little tiny uh, grizzly stove. Today we had omelets. I made omelets and they came out
Omelets.
really good. Yeah.
The other omelets, they came out like shit. But
Oh my
my omelet,
God. Well, if they're by me, of course. No,
of
of
course,
course
but
not.
of course.
But of course. But
No.
yes, but see, in contrast to my yummy omelets, my brownies that I tried to make yesterday, not so good. No, cassava flour. Don't use cassava flour to make brownies.
You need your chemicals.
No, I don't need chemicals. The coconut flour, I think if I had just used the coconut flour, I think I would have been in good shape. But I thought, oh, I'll try cassava too. Not so much.
I give
And
you props.
it was.
I give you props
You
for
give me
what you
props?
try.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
not that person.
You don't have to be. I'm that person. You
I
don't have
know.
to be.
Right. So I can learn from you.
And I can learn from you. We can learn from one another.
What a crazy thought.
I know. It's community.
One thing I would like you to go about, because I thought it was so cool, because I know you were so happy about it.
Yeah.
You're living in your solar house,
Yes.
which is epic, and everything like that.
Yes.
But you've already run into some issues.
Yeah. Because it's called life.
Um, but with your
Welcome to life.
lights and your little bulbs that you got, and how you had,
Oh, yes.
I know you
I
love your light,
I
so I wanted to
do.
share with you your lights.
I'm so glad. Yes. Our mother gave the. She's like, why don't you just go get these bulbs that are these little lights that are battery operated? And I was like, oh my God, I could do that. So I went out and I got them. They were like $12, and it's not the longest string. I'm gonna buy more of them, but they're adhesive, so I put them along the ceiling, and at night now, there's a little remote control, and I just click it on to the batteries, and I have light. And then I
And
also
what a great way to do it now. So you're not wasting that energy. So, I mean, it is possible to live this way.
exactly. Thank you. And I bought another light. I know we're not doing product placement, but I bought another battery operated desk lamp. And that sucker is powerful, and you can run it off of a Blavor. Again, not product placement, but and it's solar, and yeah, so it's great. Well, the
Nice.
lamp is not solar. My Blaver is solar, and so when you plug the battery operated lamp into it, then yeah. So
Very cool. Very cool.
and I'm heading into tax season.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, for those who don't know, that's what I do for a living. I'm a CPA. It's my day job.
In real life, you're IRL.
My IRL is CPA Lisa. Um, which is awesome. We're looking very forward to it. It started off with a bang. And she's like, no, you're
No one
not. Oh,
looks forward to next season.
it's been crazy.
Whether you're a practitioner or the
Uh-huh.
one getting your stuff done, no one looks forward to it.
I get to talk with everybody. That's fun.
That's true. That is the fun part that I do remember from those days.
Yeah,
So tell me where you're at so people can find you, and then I'll tell people where I'm at so they can find
love it.
me.
And that's so perfect. So you can find us at www.sophiasroad.com. You can find us on Patreon. You can find me a little bit on YouTube. Same. Um, Please, on Sundays, once a month at least, we have our Games for Grown-Ups program where you can play online board games with a crew of people that, yeah, get together. It is run through the Vernon Area Public Library. So please, if you have any interest, register with them. You do not have to be a resident of Lincolnshire or be part of the Vernon Area Public Library district to register. It's just that since it's hosted through them, the more people that register, the more we show how important this program is. And I think it is really important to have a place where people can come and play games with others and connect in a community when physical community still is not as readily available. And that's me. How about you, Wolfie?
So, Twitter is at amwolfie. On Instagram, I got two. There's The Delinquent Clothing, and then there's The Diner Days, which are two separate shirt companies I have that kind of intermingle. The Delinquent Cozy is more like characters and stuff. The Diner's Day is more fun shirts of like phrases, and other hey Pepper and other things we used to do back in the day. So that's delinquents-2.myteespring.co for the characters that we're hopefully building this comic book around.
Nice.
And then for the Diners Day, it's the-diner-days-2.myteespring.co. I would say YouTube, but there's nothing going on YouTube right now, so I don't need it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye, TTFN.